and strength for the people that will take up office for the year ahead. And we give you thanks for all those who are laying down responsibilities today. In your name we pray. Amen. And then, with confidence, we pray as our Lord taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you very much. Before the Reverend departs this morning, I'd like you to join with me, and I'm sure you all will be very comfortable to do, in saying very many thanks for looking after prayers throughout my chairmanship year. And we have a token of thanks, which I know that you wouldn't be asking or wanting for, but we ask you to accept. So you will need both hands, Eddie, perhaps you'll help. There you go. Thank you very much. A very, very big thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. You're welcome. There you go, darling. Okay. You may sit. Thank you. So, members and officers, as the retiring chairman today, my first duty my main duty today, is to ask for nominations for a new chairman. Do I have nominations, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Could I nominate your current Vice Chairman, Councillor Eddie Strengle, to be the Council Chairman for the ensuing year? I think we all know Eddie very well, a well-known councillor and individual from Lincoln, and I'm very confident he will do an excellent job. He's, I believe, been Mayor of Lincoln, so he sort of knows the ropes very well, and I'm sure he will lead us and chair us in his usual good humour and fairness. Thank you.
And a seconder, please. Councillor Patricia Bradwell.
Mr. Chairman, it gives me great pleasure to second Councillor Strengle into this new position as Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Are there any other nominations? No? Okay. So I will... are we all in favour of the Chairman? Thank you very much. Welcome, Councillor Eddie Strengle, or Eddie to me as it's been to you. Congratulations, you are our new chairman. Thank you. So, Eddie is now going to sign the declaration, just like I did this time last year. Thank you. And now it's time for me to do as Councillor Austin did for me last year, to hand over the chain. Thank you very much. There you go. Thank you, Robert. That's lovely. Well done. Thank you. So it's now your speech next. Yeah, afterwards, yeah.
Well, thank you all, and thank you, Martin and Tricia, for seconding me as the chairman of Lincolnshire County Council. It's a great honour to be elected your chairman, and I will reward your trust by carrying out my duties to the best of my abilities. I'd like to thank Robert for his guidance whilst I was his vice chairman. He's been an excellent chairman, and both he and Julia have done the county proud. On behalf of both me and the council, I'd like to thank you, Robert. This year it's a double celebration for me and my family, and two of them are in the gallery there, as my wife Sandra and I celebrate our golden wedding anniversary next month. Sandra has been a tremendous support to me over the past 49 years, and we have two wonderful daughters, sons-in-law, and an equally wonderful granddaughter. 20 years ago, I was also privileged to serve as the 798th Mayor, and that's correct, Councillor Dyer, Mayor of Lincoln. So it's an honour to return to the chain gang and represent Lincolnshire as I visit many of the groups and organisations throughout the county. My two chosen charities are Macmillan Cancer Support, who looked after my late father, and Blind Veterans UK, which I support when a young second lieutenant who I served with lost the sight in both his eyes due to an explosion. I hope that you good people will help me to support these two wonderful charities. Thank you very much indeed, and I look forward to the year ahead. Thank you.
No, it's for you now to give me. So it's for you to give me past.
Yep. Ready?
Yep.
Right.
You get it the right way round.
I know. I need steps. There we go.
Right, there we go. Thank
Well
you very
done,
much indeed.
Robert. Yeah.
Right, now then, I'm moving over, but we're not quite, you've not quite heard the end of me just yet.
Nope.
I take those with me. Thank you very much indeed. Here you go.
Thank you. Right, we'll get there. I would like to ask Council whether we'd like to speak about our past chairman, Robert. So please, if you wish to say anything about Robert, please indicate by pressing your buzzer and we'll get round to you. Okay, well, thanks for that. Robert, pressing this thing on. I hope you all heard me anyway. Ex-staff sergeant in the army used to throw my voice quite a lot, so I think you can hear me without that, but I suppose it's been recorded. So I'd like to ask Robert now if you would like to give your speech, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all members and indeed officers for the opportunity in the last year. It's been a truly memorable occasion. I suppose to be fair, the biggest achievement and honour has been to represent you all when the King visited earlier in my chairmanship year, when he came to RAF Coningsby for the Battle of Britain Memorial Museum visit and to meet the veterans. And indeed, before arriving, he called with Councillor Colin Davey to sample Lincolnshire poacher cheese. Princess Anne is another favourite to visitor to Lincolnshire. She has an affinity to the Boston stump, and I have met her on 2 occasions during this year. The Duke of Gloucester, who works tirelessly as a working royal, he visited Dyson's Farms, to the Strawberry Red Heart project for Marks and Spencer's, and indeed, more importantly, he was really interested in the innovation, production of energy for the operation. Throughout the year, citizenships from absolutely all over the world, people of all ages and of all different circumstances that have been asked and required and been approved by the Home Office to become British citizens. It's been my duty to welcome them on behalf of the council, county council, and of course, indeed, I've met, I think, just about every deputy Lord Lieutenant and indeed the Lieutenant himself, representing the King as well. During the year, RAF events have happened which have been most memorable, and it makes you realise just how our defence systems are so much in need and very much worthy of credit. During the year, there has been negotiation and indeed partnership with North and North East Lincolnshire in the devolution deal. And of course, it's been a great privilege as a county council to be able to participate with all district councils throughout this year. The interaction with the cathedral, my civic service, remembrance, Christmas, and of course, especially this year, the enthronement of Bishop Stephen has been most memorable. My last duty last week was to be giving and assisting with the King's Voluntary Award at International Bomber Command, and along with my wife Julia, which gives me the opportunity to give my vote of thanks for her support and loyalty and attention in looking after me. It has been, although I know it, to actually realise and have the practice of it. Gainsborough in the north and Deeping St James in the south, my goodness, it is a very big county that we all represent. And of course this afternoon we'll be referring to the 50 years of the county council's existence and indeed how the merge of the previous county councils actually happened. I've been able to make a contribution to my two chosen charities, the Nottingham and Links Air Ambulance and St Barnabas. I would have liked to have done a larger charity event, but I really felt that this year it was not the right year to ask people to be contributing when it's not been easy with the cost of living, inflation and everything else that everybody's had to afford. So if I can assist Eddie in the future, then my support is there. And with that, I'll give my adieus and let Eddie get on with the chairmanship, and indeed extend my congratulations for the incoming Vice Chair. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Robert, for your kind words, and it's been a pleasure to be your Vice Chairman. I'd like to ask now for nominations for the position of Vice Chairman of the County Council. Could I have a proposer, please?
Chairman.
That's Councillor Hugo Marfleet.
First off, congratulations, Chairman, on your new appointment. I wish you all the very best, and it's lovely to see you up there. So just on that note, I would just also like to say thank you to Robert, who's been a brilliant chairman over the last year, and really wish him all the best. And finally, I would like to propose Councillor William Gray to be your Vice Chairman. William is very passionate and dedicated councillor, and it really is a pleasure to nominate William for this role and position. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Marfleet. Could I have a seconder, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to second Councillor Gray to be... Sorry?
Yep, you're fine.
Oh, well, I'm doing... No, he's saying she wants to do it. Well, we'll carry on. I'd like to second William as your Vice Chairman for the coming year. I've known William quite a long time, and I know he'll do a brilliant job. When he takes a job on, he does it perfectly. So I've got no qualms, and I think you'll both work brilliantly together. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Tricia. Yeah, slight confusion there, I think, with Noy, but bless you, Noy. I know you wanted to, but we'll accept that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair.
Sorry. Could I have a show of hands that we accept the Vice Chairman as William Gray? That is carried. Thank you. And William, if I can invite you down. Emily. Just wait a second, William. Right, sign the declaration. This is fine. If I can now place the Vice Chairman's chains on you. I'm glad I'm a higher level than you, otherwise you'd disappear. There we go. And Rachel, if I could ask you to finish the job. Thank you. Congratulations, William, and I'll look forward to working with you over the next year. Thank you very much. Thank you. Right. William, if you'd like to give your speech, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm honoured to be appointed Vice Chairman of Lincolnshire County Council, especially as the Council celebrates its 50th anniversary this year. Thank you to Councillor Hugo Marfleet for proposing my nomination, and to Councillor Patricia Bradwell for my seconder, and for Councillor Noy Sear for also being keen to second me, so that's very kind, thank you. Thank you to my fellow councillors for their trust and for voting for me. I promise to work with energy and enthusiasm to honour that trust. It will be a privilege to support our new chairman, Councillor Eddie Strengle, and I look forward to a very successful year ahead. Thank you very much, councillors.
Right, well, thank you for that. We will now move to the agenda proper. So, apologies for absence. Chief Clerk, Chief Executive, sorry.
Thank you very much. So we've received apologies from Councillor Carter, Councillor Nicola Clark, Councillor Danny, Councillor Higgs and Councillor Parkin.
Thank you. If anyone knows of any other apologies, please show. None seen, so we'll move on. Thank you. Item 4, declarations of councillors' interests. Obviously, if you've declared this on a DPI, you don't need to do it in this meeting. However, if you feel during the meeting that there's something you'd like to declare an interest, then please do at that point. Are there any declarations of interest? None seen? Okay, thank you. We'll move on. Now, there are 2 sets of minutes. First one is the minutes of the meeting of the County Council held on the 23rd of February. What I would like to hear from you is a vote of approval by accepting that the minutes are a true record. So all those in favour? Anyone against? Any abstentions? None seen. That is carried. Moving on to the minutes of the extraordinary meeting of the County Council held on the 13th of March 2024, that the minutes of the extraordinary meeting of the Council has been approved as a true record. So I want all those in favour, please show. Anyone against? Any abstentions? 1 abstention. Noted. Thank you. That is carried. Item 7, the result of the by-election for Lincoln Park Electoral Division. We have a new councillor with us. I hope I pronounce your name correctly. So welcome, Councillor Debbie Armiger, to the council, and I hope you enjoy your stay with us for as long as you are elected. Okay, many thanks indeed. I think a show of hands here. Moving on, Chairman's announcement, item 8. I'd like to welcome you all to the Chamber today and thank you for taking part in the County Council photograph, which has become a tradition and importantly documents the history of our council. In particularly, I would like to welcome Councillor Debbie Armiger to the Chamber, which I've just done, and I haven't read this through, of the full council since her election to the Lincoln Park electoral division earlier this month. As you're aware, Lincolnshire County Council celebrates its 50th anniversary this year. I hope you will take the opportunity to view the fantastic exhibition to mark this momentous occasion in the members' foyer following this meeting. There will be another opportunity to see the exhibition on the County Council stand at the Lincolnshire Show, which will be held this year on Wednesday the 19th and Thursday the 20th of June at the County Showground. I hope to see a lot of you there, if you can make it, on either of the days or even both. I assume there are no questions on that, so I'll move on to item 10, questions to the Chairman, the Leader, Executive Councillors, Chairman of Committees and Subcommittees. My apologies, missed item 9. Good start. Statements announced by the Leader and members of the Executive. Item 9 on the agenda. Councillor Hill, would you like to say anything?
I will just say a few brief words, Chairman, just to remind members that we have again produced, I know you like to have a crisp meeting, so again we have produced an annual report, so to speak, from myself and members of the Executive, so we've all got one and circulated, will be online as well, so if anybody else would want them, please say so. Obviously, as you said, 50 years ago, presumably in May, it was the first meeting of this formal meeting of the substantive county council. And I think over the years, with the odd wobble or two, this council has provided good services to the people of Lincolnshire. And unusually, we haven't changed. There have been no boundary changes or anything else in those 50 years, which is very unusual with all the other changes that have gone on. So I think the people of Lincolnshire can be proud of what their county council has done for them. And specifically the last year, I think they could be proud of what we've done as a group here in terms of providing those services, good services across the board, but also keeping our council tax one of the lowest in the country, and also making sure that we actually stand up and fight for those causes where, beyond just pure council services, we are there for the people of Lincolnshire. So I think it's a very strong record we can all be proud of in this chamber. And I would also like to thank, first of all, the officers for their support, my executive for their hard work and support. I think sometimes people don't realise what a commitment it is to be a member of an executive of a council. It is very much a full-time, more than a full-time job. And finally, I would like to thank all of you as councillors who, again, has made the work of this council, and I know all of you, in your different ways, have actually done your work as local councillors, but also attended scrutinies and other meetings and events to make sure that we work as a good corporate identity. Obviously, next year will be, this time next year will be a new council, but obviously, as we were with the progress of the mayoral combined authority, I think it's a fair assumption now that there will be an election for a mayor of Greater Lincolnshire, which will be a new chapter in the history of governance of the county council. But just to remind you, most of the services will continue to be provided by the council as they have done in the past. But obviously, as we move forward with a new government of some complex, we don't know the complexion yet. There'll be new governments and a new mayor. So I think this next year is very much about consolidating what we've got, continue to provide those services and invest in those areas which the public want us to invest in. And all I would say, compared to many other councils in the country, some not very far away, we are in a very strong position. And that doesn't happen by accident. That happens because we stick to the task and make sure we do the right thing, do the right governance, and do the right financial management. And it's not a fluke. It's because all of us have done the right thing to make sure that people can be proud of their county council, and we will continue to do so, hopefully for the next 50 years. So with that, I'll stop. If any of my exec colleagues would like to say anything, they're very welcome to do so. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Leader. Any exec members wish to speak? Does any of the council have any comments? Okay, well, thank you, Martin, for your statement. We'll move on then to item 10, questions to the chairman, the leader, executive councillors, chairman of committees and subcommittees. I'm anxious to allow a good spread of questions across the chairman within the time allocated. Note the time allocated. I intend to allow 45 minutes for the total questions. I am expecting councillors to be disciplined because of the time available. When invited to ask their question, councillors should press the button on the microphone to make it live and press it again once they have finished speaking. Right, we have a few questions, 16 in total. And the first question is from Councillor Tom Dyer to Councillor Richard Davis.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you very much, Chairman. The circa £200 million North Hycombe Relief Road, which was granted planning permission earlier this week by this authority, is a landmark investment which will significantly reduce congestion and rat running through the communities I represent in Waddington, North Hycombe and South Lincoln. And these residents experience this on a daily basis. Broadly, the communities I represent support this investment, but there is a concern about the disruption this project will have whilst it's being constructed. Can the Executive Member for Highways please provide his assurance of what measures the Council will be taking to both keep disruption to a minimum and keep residents, and particularly those most impacted by the project, continuously updated as the project moves ahead? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Dyer. Councillor Richard Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Absolutely, it's a massive piece of infrastructure, as we all know, and it will be critical that it is delivered in an effective way. I think what we have learnt, sometimes at our cost in recent years, is when it comes to building these kind of big infrastructure projects, there will be problems. In particular for this project, I think Pennell's Roundabout and Station Road are going to be the key locations where, when we're working in those areas, there'll be significant congestion. The key is communication. So there's dedicated public liaison officers on site all the time who will be able to field those day-to-day inquiries, but also it's about lots of advance warning. When we've done works in the past on big capital schemes or even kind of maintenance schemes, the more forewarning you can give people, the better. So I think that's going to be key. Regular updates via social media is also important. People find it. We also have a dedicated allocation for advertising via social media, so we can target those people who not necessarily live in the area but travel through it, and we can pick them up on geotagging, so we can almost kind of send a message to their phone in simple terms that this is going on, and then regular updates so people know what to expect and when, because this is a mammoth piece of engineering. As per usual in Lincolnshire, that's so flat, we're spending most of our time worrying about hills, and that's going to be a real challenge, and there will be changes to the programme, and when that happens we'll ensure that everybody's known. And I think from a point of contact it's going to be critical for keeping you and the other immediate local members informed.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Next question is from Councillor Karen Lee to Mrs. Patricia Bradwell, OBE.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, can I extend my congratulations and from our group to you and your Vice Chair, and thank you for your kind words to our colleague. There's a lot of Debbies and Martins on the Council now, aren't there? My question is around the antisocial behaviour team. I'm sure it's got cross-party welcome and support. I just wanted to know where we are with it. We had a presentation to policy scrutiny on Tuesday. I understand that they've gone out, they've done the specs for the jobs that there are going to be. I just wanted to know sort of where we are, when it's going to be up and running, and just actually ask if when it's all good to go, if we could have some sort of briefing for council. Maybe it's an online briefing, just with all the details, but sort of where are we with it for now? When's it going to be up and running?
Thank you. Councillor Bradwell.
Thank you. Well, you're quite right. They are just now, because it's been through scrutiny, looking to actually recruit. We will need to recruit some extra Positive Futures members of staff and a small number of other staff. But the main thing is our officers are going to be going around and meeting the district leads for antisocial behaviour, so that, you know, because we intend working together. So yes, it's just all moving forward. And you're quite right. And when we get the staff and everyone in place, then we'll be moving. And we will, obviously, we'll brief members about when it starts. And, you know, we can also probably give the members where it's going into those communities, so you have that knowledge, and you know you're not waiting for residents to tell you what's happening. We want you to know as well. So yeah, yes, it's all starting, and we'll just keep you abreast of all the information as we go forward.
Councillor Bradwell. Karen, by the way, there are also another Karen and a Debbie. There's two in the gallery, a Karen and a Debbie, my daughters. Third question is from Mrs. and Councillor Marion Overton, MBE, to Councillor Colin Davey. Marion.
Thank you, Chairman. My area, like some others, is under terrific strain with the worry of very, very large NSIPs, as we call them, developments for some 7,000 acres in 2 sites of solar panels covering on farmland. And at our council, the district council, raised this with the minister, that we wanted the cumulative impact to be taken into account. And there was a statement this week which says that they will allow that to be taken into account. I'm wondering how large a cumulative impact you have to have before it's counted as not really acceptable. Thank you. What are your thoughts?
Thank you, Councillor Overton, for the question, and congratulations, Chairman, on your elevation to the top job. Let me just say, I think the statement from the government this week is welcome. I'm not a judge of cumulative impact. It will be a planning inspector who deals with these NSIPs as they come in front of them and how they interpret the guidance issued by government. It's very clear. I mean, we've got so many NSIPs. I think we and Suffolk are the two most targeted areas in the country for NSIP applications. And solar in the west side of Lincolnshire, is the cumulative effect there is so great. There is no way anyone in their sound mind would want to consent all of those applications. It's my personal view that as a council, we put things on our buildings. We should do that, and government really should have mandated that all new buildings should be fitted with solar or any other renewable technologies. That's what we should be doing. We should utilise brownfield land, car parking like they do in France, etc., etc. We don't need to build this stuff on good quality farmland. We have got a massive food problem coming down the track, a food crisis. We need to use our land to produce food for the nation. Lincolnshire has always done that. We should continue to do that in the future. So government's announcement this week is welcome. I think it's been, let's say, late to the party in relation to this. And I think there are things that we should be doing as a country that we're not doing. And government needs to grasp that nettle and stop listening to the building companies who, you know, like to make their profits when we should actually be building high quality homes for future generations that actually integrate all of the stuff I just mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Next question is from Councillor Hugo Marfleet, back to Councillor Colin Davey. Hugo.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, my question to Councillor Colin Davey is actually on a similar note, really. It's about agriculture. The Prime Minister has been on the news this week talking about the National Food Security Agenda and how we must start to pay a lot more attention to food security. Solar is one of those issues that is becoming widespread in Lincolnshire, or could potentially, which as a large farming business in Lincolnshire and very crucial sector to this council as well, it's great that the Prime Minister is talking about it. What we do need to somehow do is engage better with our farming community and listen to what they say and some of the concerns. As I drive around and look at the farms, there's so many patches and gaps from the extreme weathers that we've had this year. It's going to be a hard year for a lot of farmers. You know, they are not going to get the volumes, they're not going to get the yields, and of course that will impact on us as humans and residents, because we're going to have to pay more for food because it will be shorter. But we need to engage, and Colin, how can we best engage going forward to really represent this valuable sector in Lincolnshire? Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Councillor Marfleet. I'll just say this, I mean, as I've just said in the previous answer, food is very important to the nation, and we need to make sure that Lincolnshire maintains that premium position that we have. What are we doing? Firstly, today actually is the first meeting of the renewed Agriculture and Horticultural Forum, where we are engaging as a council, following a recommendation from our scrutiny committee, that we would do so. And that's the first meeting's taking place today, and we'll hear back from producers and growers and farmers about the challenges they're facing. And it's important the council hears that message so we can actually make the right representations to government. It's always good to see prime ministers in the sunset weeks of their premiership come to the party and make the announcements they should have been making throughout their premiership. You know, we've argued many times, I've written on a number of occasions to the government about food security issues, the importance of Lincolnshire's land for food security. And I would say government, fair to them, have recognised in the devolution agreement we'll have a different relationship with DEFRA going forward, which will recognise the importance of Lincolnshire and Greater Lincolnshire as a food producer for the nation. So there is an opportunity going forward under the Mayoral Combined Authority and the devolution deal to prioritise agriculture and horticulture and farming. We need to take that opportunity and make sure that we are banging the drum for Lincolnshire and Lincolnshire's food sector going forward. It's a huge contributor to the economy. We want to make sure it stays a huge contributor in the future.
Thank you, Colin. You're in for a few today, Colin. Councillor Debbie Armiger to Councillor Colin Davey.
Thank you, Chairman. Following the devastating floods on Nelthorpe Street and Sewell's Walk last October, many residents are still struggling to recover. While the government grants provided some relief, I'm reaching out today to inquire about the additional budget recently allocated to support residents. Specifically, I'd like to understand how this budget will directly benefit residents, and could you elaborate on programmes or initiatives that will be funded? Additionally, a figure or a breakdown of how this budget is allocated would be greatly appreciated. This information will be crucial for residents to understand how they can best utilise this support as they rebuild their lives. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, and congratulations on joining the council, and I hope you have a happy time here. Firstly, I would just say we are still dealing with the aftermaths of what were two very significant events. As you know, we had over 1,000 properties in Lincolnshire flooded. We still have farmland underwater. We have roads that will need to be reconstructed, defences that will need to be reconstructed. This is a massive task. The Section 19 work is well underway. We have a new complement of officers that have just started work, and we'll get around, hopefully by the end of August, through all the investigation processes. And I will introduce you by email later to our lead officer so you can engage with areas specific to your patch that you have concerns over. And I'll ask him to provide a breakdown on how the funding mechanisms work. I think the flood resilience grants have all been allocated already, and we've got a pipeline of people waiting if more money becomes available. So I will look at your area and see what happened and engage with you directly, if that's okay.
Thank you, Colin. Next question is from Councillor Richard Cleaver to Councillor Richard Davies.
Thank you, Chairman. Many people across the county are very pleased to see a step change, finally, in the level of bus services available, particularly in our towns. But there's a concern that, having finally achieved this, that this isn't going to be simply a one-year wonder, and that these improvements are going to be sustainable in the medium and long term, and that next year we're not going to see them cut back again. Please could you offer some reassurance to me and to the residents of Lincolnshire about this? Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for highlighting the improvements to bus services. It's the bus usage is a real chicken and egg type of process. That it's, you know, it's a classic. If you use it, if you don't use it, you lose its service. But I am pleased to report, as many colleagues will have noticed, that because of the work done around the bus service improvement plan by the team here, we're seeing significant increases in number of people using buses. And Councillor Cleaver's right to pick on those kind of interurban areas and the suburban areas. We're seeing in some places an increase of 25–26% in numbers of people using buses to get in and out of town centres, which is a great thing. However, you're absolutely right to highlight the nature of the funding. A lot of this is being driven by the £2 fare cap, which is a national scheme which we are supporting. Now, my personal hope is that we can continue to lobby the government to continue to fund that, because it has shown where lots of other initiatives and gimmicks have failed, actually more regular buses that are cheaper, surprise, surprise, do get people onto them. I can't give you any assurances at the moment. Unfortunately, I don't think come the general election I'm going to be Chancellor of the Exchequer, sadly. But one thing I can say is that we are already starting conversations internally here and saying to colleagues on the exec, look, this is having such a profound impact on Lincolnshire. How can we keep it moving forward in the future? And your support in that is most welcome.
Thank you, Richard. Next question is from Councillor Martin Bowles to Councillor Richard Davies.
Thank you, Chairman, and congratulations to yourself and the Vice Chairman. Councillor Davies, firstly, thank you for attending the division walk round several weeks ago with myself. It was really appreciated and helped quite a lot. Foxby Hill, which is the main route in and out of my division for hundreds of people every day travelling to Lincoln for school, work, leisure, has been closed since the turn of the year for the construction of a new roundabout. As we both observed during the walk around, we was impressed with the work that was being done and the speed it was being taken. Unfortunately, since that meeting, work has stopped and ground to a halt, with rumours circulating of a further 3-month delay on top of the 6 months that was already scheduled. Whilst I've had it confirmed that there are serious delays in the project, nobody seems willing to confirm any timeframes with myself. Please could I ask if you have or you could obtain any further information for me, and hope that the further inconvenience to residents can be kept to an absolute minimum. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And this came up at the Town Council meeting recently, didn't it, that I attended? Yeah, unfortunately, at the moment, there is a problem with drainage and levels on the roundabout. You're right, what we've seen, there was some great work going on. I don't have a definitive update in terms of the redesign work, but what I can commit to, as soon as we do have a firm date, you'll be the first person to know.
Thank you. Next question is from Councillor Charlotte Vernon to Councillor Councillor Colin Davey. I beg your pardon. You look worried there, Richard.
Thank you, Chairman. May I also take this opportunity to congratulate you and your Vice Chairman on your new appointment. Councillor Davey, Anglia Water are the lead for a piece of major infrastructure, which is a new strategic water pipeline that cuts through the division of that and my colleague, Councillor Hill. Works on that project seem to have stalled, and the trenches that have been dug have now been filled with soil mounds, which is spoiling the look and feel of the local landscape. Contractors must have a duty to reinstate this land quickly, and I'm concerned there might be underlying issues at play. I wondered if you could please update me on what you know regarding this project and when it will be completed. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for the question. As I just opened my email, I've actually just had a response from Anglian Water, which I've been chasing all week. So I'm going to have to read some of this and I'll share it with you and Councillor Hill after the meeting. Anglian Water say they are remain fully committed to delivering the entirety of this project. However, the construction in the north area, Elsham to Peterborough, is being rephased under a new timetable. As soon as the new programme is available, we'll communicate this to all affected landowners. We hope to be in a position to have this information over the next 4 to 6 weeks. Well, I find that quite unacceptable, being honest with you. Exceptional circumstances, and they list the ones such as labour shortages, COVID, etc. War in Ukraine, I don't know what that's got to do with it either. So they have made a commitment that they will deliver the scheme in its entirety. That it's been rephased. I don't know why they've dug stuff up. They could have left it if they were going to rephase it. So it's made a really poor look to the whole area. The farmers will have not be compensated, I'm sure. They would have been expecting that the land would be restored so they could farm it this year. And one of the excuses, I'm going to read this because I'm sure some of the members on various scrutiny committees would be delighted to hear. Not only are we dedicated to minimising the impact on communities along the route, it is also our duty to protect the environment. Our pipeline crosses the habitats of some protected species, and we are legally obliged to manage our work accordingly in these areas to minimise any impact we have. Surely the phasing of any project takes account of nesting seasons and all that. So I think we have, quite honestly, a bit of a mess in relation to this project. We have an assurance now from Anglian Water they will complete it. I'm not happy about the timelines, and I'll pick this up further next week in my communications with Anglian Water. I'll say this, all these public shareholder type companies who have increased their prices considerably in recent months on consumers, whether they be energy or water or whatever, have a duty to deliver high quality services and deliver infrastructure with the least impact on people and communities. I don't think we've hit the mark on this one. I'll share this email with all concerned members. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. Next questions from Councillor Kevin Clark to Councillor Richard Davies.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Davies, could I ask, do you know if there's any plans to address the High Street precinct area? I walked up there on Saturday and counted, I think it was 160 slabs that had been replaced with tarmac. I know there was replaced by, safety reasons, but there doesn't seem to be any attempt to replace them, and it gives a neglect look to the High Street. I understand the contractors are going to say they're waiting, for the slabs, but this isn't happening. And could I also say, if there is a supply issue, can we look at other methods of replacing those slabs and get the worst area, which is outside the memorial, sorted out before the remembrance service in November? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Councillor Clark. You undoubtedly will be aware this is not a unique problem to Lincoln or to Lincolnshire. We have a similar problem and other areas do. For example, Anglian Water, Colin's good friend, just this last week or so have finally got round to repairing on the lower High Street the bit of work they did, I think, a good 2 years ago. We're unable to get materials. The way we're combating is we're setting up at one of our depots a heritage storage facility where we'll be holding spares for various bits of the kind of stonework, the flagstones that aren't always available at the drop of a hat. The reason we have to put the tarmac in is, if in the middle of the night we get a phone call and the crews kind of have to get out from under the duvets and go out and repair them, it's not always possible that an emergency repair crew will have exactly the matching material on site. And it's important for us that we make it safe. Tarmac is the way we do that. Unfortunately, it's not always then that easy to get back and replace it. One of the reasons, as a rule, we don't put down paving slabs anymore is because they are so prone to breakage and there are better materials. But in terms of an action point, I will take away in terms of the memorial and see what we can do before then, because I think you're right, Lincoln needs to look its best, as does all of the county. We've done some work up at the Minster, we've done some work down in Stamford on this already, and it's just an ongoing programme. We are hoping that the Streetworks Charter that we've got the utility companies to sign will mean they will be more engaged with this process than they have been up until now.
Thank you, Richard. Next question is from Councillor Phil Dilks to Councillor Colin Davey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and may I congratulate you and Vice Chairman and take a moment just to say with my British Legion hat on to say how appropriate it is for the coming year that we have someone in the chair who has served in our armed forces particularly given that next month we'll be commemorating the 80th anniversary of D-Day, the biggest beach landings the world's ever seen, which led to the end of the Second World War. My question seems to be on the theme today about what's happening with other utilities to the valuable land, particularly food-producing land, across Lincolnshire. Residents, farmers, and it follows up with from my colleague's earlier question about the Anglia Water pipeline. Residents, farmers and motorists that we represent were content to put up with the inconvenience and disruption when it was announced that we were going to have this major water pipeline across food-producing land of Lincolnshire to pump water out of our county for the benefit of others in the south. But having dug up hundreds of trenches, as has been mentioned, and just left them open and delivered the miles after miles of pipelines, they've walked away. They've just put a fence around it and walked away. And I welcome the answer that you gave to our colleague earlier, but just sort of, want you to know and want the council to know and want Anglian Water to know. All of us in this room, I am sure, do not, from whichever party and none we come from, just think it is totally unacceptable in the answer that they've given you this morning to say, having walked away well over a month ago from any work taking place whatsoever, they are now saying, we'll let you know in 4 to 6 weeks what we're going to do. Now, that is not fair on anyone, particularly to our farmers. And I'm known as not being a champion of farmers, but I do, on this occasion, absolutely support the farmers in this. Thank you, Colin Davey. Thank you.
Thanks for those comments, Councillor Dilks, and I totally agree with you. It's not acceptable to have, stuff left for 3 months minimum, by the sound of it, before anyone might get back onto site. And that's no way. We should not find this acceptable from any organisation that is billing consumers and businesses for their services. And I'm quite clear that if we left something that we'd dug up for 3 months, I am sure there would be a lot of problems. So, they need to recognise they have a duty and a responsibility. And I think that sometimes passes these people by.
Thank you, Colin. Next question is from Councillor Stephen Bunny to Councillor Richard Davis.
Thank you. Can I first of all congratulate you and your Vice Chairman for your elevation to the posts. I also need to apologise for my phone going off earlier on, and it seems to me that perhaps a donation to one of your charities, or both of your charities, is forthcoming. But anyway, Councillor Davis, in common with most of us here in the chamber, nearly every parish council we attend, the topic of highways is brought up by councillors and parishioners. Potholes, etc., obviously is a major concern, but so is speeding. We frequently get feedback and upgrades on the former, but not so much on the latter. Could you please confirm that speeding is a concern for the council and indicate what actions are being taken to bring about reduction in speed, particularly in our smaller communities?
Thank you. Yes, speeding is of great concern for the County Council. We are a lead member of the Road Safety Partnership in conjunction with Lincolnshire Police and spend a huge amount of time dealing with it. I think we have a balance to strike. It's very easy, and very often communities don't want any cars going more than about 5 miles an hour through their community, but seem to want to drive through everybody else's at about max 7. And the reality is, particularly where we have lots of ribbon developments in somewhere like Lincolnshire, most of the roads that go through villages are, while important to those villages, are also links and commuter links. So it's important that we have a speed limit policy that balances that. Now, I'm conscious that this is being reviewed at the moment, so I don't want to preempt that review. But I think we need to be careful about not allowing anecdote to drive policy. So what we have is, following national guidelines, is a fairly standardised approach to assessing what the speed of a road should be. That's fundamentally based around what is the mean speed on the road. So what is a typical car doing on the road? How many properties there are? That's trying to address the question really, are we in a village or are we not? And then look at the accident history. And I think it's important that we look at those three things together rather than just insisting that everywhere has a speed limit. Because to our Welsh brethren, that has proved controversial and counterproductive. But I am aware, particularly in your area, where there is a great deal of particularly motorbike rat running, there is a real danger risk. And I think what we need to do is impress upon our colleagues at the Road Safety Partnership and actually Lincolnshire Police, because enforcement is really very much down to them and they can make a real difference, is we need to see more visible policing so that people aren't speeding in those inappropriate places in particular, because there are still too many deaths on our roads and it's incumbent upon us all to do something about that.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Councillor Stephen Bunny, for your donation. Thank you. It reminds me of when I was mayor. I think Councillor Spratt will allude to this. We had an unwritten rule at £10 to the mayor's charity. So I'm going to resurrect that. And knowing that, of course, I'm sure there'll be no other phones ringing. Thank you. Next question is from Councillor Tom Ashton to Councillor Richard Davies.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councillor Davies, in recent weeks, Bry Lane have made slight alteration to their B5 bus route, which, while improving some aspects, has cut off one of my communities, Anton Scout, almost entirely from the bus network. Would you be willing to work with me and officers to see if we can convince Bry Lane to reinstate Anton Scout onto their B5 route, appreciating this is a service which quite a lot of people locally rely on to reach their nearest town, which is Boston, and the Pilgrim Hospital in particular? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Ashton. I think this is critical importance, actually. Following on from Councillor Cleaver's point, we've seen so many improvements that it's really disappointing to hear that a community is losing out. I think probably what we need to do is get the parish council, ourselves and the bus operator around the table in Anton's Gout and try and establish what are the reasons, what are the issues, because very often they are very, very sensitive to timings, because of course the traffic commissioner doesn't like it if they're late, but there may be something we can do. I know, for example, and it may not be appropriate, but in some areas we're rolling out bus priority measures to try and improve the speed, particularly in urban areas. It might be an issue as they get into Boston that they're worried about. So I'm sure we can look at something and try and get that route reinstated, because I know it's quite a well-used route as well. So it seems like a missed opportunity to take it away.
Thank you, Richard. Next question is from Councillor Neil Murray to Councillor Richard Davies.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations. Is this the beginning of a Scottish takeover? You never know.
We can but try, laddie.
Well, there's two of us anyway. Question for Councillor three, apparently. That's a new one already. Question for Councillor Davis. As you know, Councillor Davis, the West End part of Carhome Division has got serious traffic and parking issues. It's because of the nature, the late Victorian Edwardian nature of the area. A few weeks ago, I had a really well-attended residents' consultation report back meeting. The church hall was packed and people unanimously wanted to see a reappraisal of the Carhome Community Travel Zone, which the County Council implemented more than 20 years ago. So obviously things have changed in the last 20 years or so. So what they're looking for is a reappraisal of the scheme to make it fit for today, and particularly the residence parking scheme, which is a good scheme, but it needs a wee bit of work doing to it. So what I'm looking for is if you could reassure me that the County Council can deliver that reappraisal in line with what the residents want. Thank you.
Richard.
Yes, certainly it seems entirely appropriate that after that length of period, of which it has been a successful scheme, there's no doubt about it, but we ought to review it, particularly as it's a bit of a template for what we've done elsewhere, and I think it's worked very well, particularly around that kind of urban rat running, which is really good. But it makes sense to kind of reassess it and look at where the parking is and where it isn't needed, because I am conscious, having visited a couple of times after our conversation about streetlights, it does feel like there are more blockages on the road and the parking is losing a little bit of common sense of late. So I think now's a good time to do it. So I'm happy to support.
Next question and penultimate question is from Councillor Ashley Baxter to Councillor Mrs. Sue Woolley.
Thank you, Chairman, and congratulations. My question is to the Executive Member for NHS Liaison, who is also the Chair of the LCC Health and Wellbeing Board, sorry, the Lincolnshire Health and Wellbeing Board. Councillor Woolley, you are no doubt aware that 10% of GP practices in the county are rated as inadequate or requiring improvement. This equates to 116,000 patients in Lincolnshire who are registered with a GP who is either rated as inadequate or in need of improvement. Will you please raise these concerns about the state of these 10% of GP practices with the Integrated Care Board? Thank you.
First of all, Chairman, congratulations. Vice Chairman, congratulations. Thank you for your question, Councillor Baxter. Yes, of course, I'll raise this with the ICB. As you know, we have about 80 GP practices, and I say about because some of them are joining together, and so the number does vary a little bit, but there's roughly about 80 GP practices in Lincolnshire. However, there are some that are not performing as they would like to, let alone their patients would like to. Overall, they have recovered from COVID, but are still doing so. And I think you may have seen that recently the Integrated Care Board has started to put out a number of points around their performance. And I think in March, which is the last set of figures, there were 13,000 missed GP appointments, which is not helping matters. I think it was 17,000 in November. So I think it's incumbent on all of us to not only persuade our patients to turn up when they've got an appointment, but also to make sure that the ICB is supporting those GPs who may be struggling to provide their services. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Now for the extra penultimate question. Councillor Colin Matthews to Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Chairman. And may I add my congratulations to you and your deputy. Well done. And thank you for remembering me. Colin, you'll be very familiar with the Eastern Green Link 3 and Eastern Green Link 4 and Ossian, but I'll just explain to the Chamber what they are. These are offshore wind farms in Scotland that will be producing 7.6 gigawatt of electricity, enough to power 50% of the households in England. These lines are coming offshore from Scotland, and then they berth, if that's the right word, at Mablethorpe. They then go inland from Mablethorpe, according to these consultations, to a converter station at AB Comes Rigsby, which has a population of 17 homes, residents. Now, they are making a presumption that there will be a converter station at AB Come Rigsby based on the pylon line that we previously discussed in this chamber. Are they jumping the gun? Are they putting the cart before the horse? Or are they just going ahead blithely with abusing Lincolnshire residents?
Thanks for the question. I think that since our last discussions in this chamber, when we had the proposals for giant pylon lines and substations and everything down the entire eastern side of the county, these are three new proposals, three new giant underground cable routes and substations. And it begs the question, as the leader and I have said many times, if you can put the cable on the seabed to bring the power from Scotland, why are we not taking the cable on the seabed all the way to the southeast of England where they need the power? That is the obvious way to do this. So that's our position, that all of this really should be offshore, and it should flow down the North Sea into Essex, into Tilbury or Grays or one of those places where they can actually build the converter stations there. There is no reason for it to come on shore, other than I totally agree with you. It is absolutely premature to be thinking that you're going to build a substation that is the footprint of which is bigger than the town of Alford. This is not some small scale little development. This is a major industrialisation of the entire Lincolnshire coast. It will change the character of the coast forever. It will impact on landscape, people and communities. It will devastate the tourism sector on the coast. I'm very clear we need to resist this. We need to have a real conversation with government about it. And we have commissioned various work. So we are ready for the next phase of what this might turn into. So residents and businesses need to be assured that this council has grave concerns. And as said earlier around the cumulative impact of solar, I think the cumulative impact of all these proposals on the eastern side of Lincolnshire is now so significant that this council must do everything it can to defend this part of Lincolnshire for the sake of Lincolnshire from these proposals.
Thank you, Colin. And the final question is from Councillor Andrew Key to Councillor Richard Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and finally congratulations again from me. Good luck in keeping us all in order. May I just ask this question, please? I've been pleased to tell residents about extra money that's been allocated to highways over recent times, but could I ask something that I'm often asked? What difference is this making across the county? Thank you.
Richard.
Thank you. Yes, it's a very valid question, isn't it? We're very good at talking about how the money we don't have and how we need extra money. And I know that ourselves in this chamber, but also residents across the county are grateful for the extra money. We're finding out of our own reserves very often where the government at times lets us down. The couple of stats I'd really kind of draw your attention to, particularly on our unclassified network. So that's rural and urban roads that are the very lowest grade, but often the roads that we begin and end our journeys on. And parish councils in particular are very, very attuned to them. Since we started putting in extra investment in the last kind of 12, 18 months, we've seen a 5% increase in those roads that are no longer in need of repair. Now that's, as a stat, perhaps doesn't mean much, but if I say in terms of distance, that's 200 kilometres of road now that we look after that have gone from needing repair to not needing repair. And that has really shifted the balance for us as a whole asset, which I think is worth about £12 billion. Our road network is now improving as we measure it, and the laboratory are out there all the time scanning and measuring. It is now the quality and the substrate is improving as opposed to deteriorating. I think the other thing I would touch upon, which we haven't mentioned much this morning, but very often comes up, is flooding. The extra money we've taken on board has enabled us to set up designated flooding response teams in each area. So now each area has high-capacity jetters, it has a drill crew, it has a repair crew, rather than a shared couple of assets around the county. Now each division has got one. And that means that they're able to go in and cut those routes that are blocking drains, that are being able to unclog gully pots much, much quicker. And notwithstanding what Councillor Davies talked about, the number of houses that are flooding, that is meaning we're starting to get on top of some of these long-standing flooding issues. Very much we're going out to things that we didn't know were there and have the first time they've been touched for many years. But they're two really good examples. I would also just flag that next week we start the trial of a new technique of longitudinal crack filling, which is, trust me, is a lot sexier than it sounds. Colleagues in particular rural areas will be familiar that very often you'll be going down rural roads and they will appear to be snapped in the middle where the road is coming away and you've got these long breakages. And what we're doing is exploring a technology where we'll be able to fill those and that way stop water and further ingress and also keep the road safe. One of the concerns historically has been if you just put a plain tar over the top of them, it makes it slipper for cyclists, walkers and horse riders. This way we can maintain the integrity of the road by filling it with a special polymer. So if anybody wants to know more, please grab me because I can tell you're all very excited about that.
Thank you, Richard. That concludes the questions for this morning. We're still a couple of minutes to go, so excellent. Thank you. Moving on then to item 11, the leader to report on the executive portfolios and delegations. Councillor Hill, MBE.
Thank you. The proposal has been circulated. There are no changes to either the, well, there is one change where we now have an allocated portfolio holder to oversee the complaints process, and that's my colleague to my right here, Councillor Boutroyd. Apart from that, no changes, Chairman.
Thank you, Leader. Moving on to item 12, proportionality and allocations of seats to committees and subcommittees. They have been circulated. Do I have a proposer, please?
Yeah, proposing a chairman. The proportionality doesn't change because of our new councillor, who I'm sure we're all very happy to welcome and hope you'll be very happy with us. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Jackie. And a seconder, please.
I second, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Those in favour, please show. Yeah, I'm coming back to anyone. Okay, carry on.
I assume we're on Schedule 3, Mr Chairman, the membership of committees, yeah?
We're on the proportionality and allocations of seats to committees and subcommittees.
Indeed. I wonder if I might, with your forbearance, suggest that under children and young people, Councillor Baxter would like to stand down from that place and for the independent place to be taken by Councillor Cleaver. And I'm pleased to say that further on in the report, the pensions vacancy, Councillor Marianne Overton is volunteering to fill that position.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, our group have decided on the vacancies for Vice Chairman, and Jackie, would you like to comment further, please?
Chairman, yes, indeed, and I believe that they're in the paper. I believe it's Councillor Alan Briggs.
Correct.
Has been that he is going to take the position of Vice Chair, and I think you'll find that's there. Thank you. Yes, pensions. Yes.
And Jackie, have you noted the change from Councillor Baxter? Have you noted the change of Councillor Baxter coming off the committee? We can.
And if I may,
Councillor
Marianne Overton to take the vacancy on the pensions. There was a vacancy as well. Thank you.
Happy with that, Jackie? Yes.
If it's a vacancy within the same group, it's the group leader's decision and the group's decision. Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, thank you for that. Welcome to the new Vice Chairman of the various committees, and thank you, Marion, for stepping into pensions, which of course there's a lot of clamouring at the door to join the Pensions Committee. We've had a mover and a seconder. All those in favour, please show. Anyone against? Any abstentions? None seen. That is carried. Moving on then to the final part, which is the appointment of Chairman and Vice Chairman of committees and subcommittees. Well, we've just dealt with some of that, so I think we've...
Just on that, Chairman, it has been circulated, and can I also take the opportunity to thank those chairmen people who are standing down for their roles, and for all the effort and work they put into it, which I know is substantial, and welcome the new people into their new roles.
So we're referring to item 13, so all those in favour, please show.
A point of information, Chairman. As part of the change with the Chairman and Vice Chairman, Councillors Brooks and Pepper will come off OSMB and Councillors Hall and Key will go on, and I'll make sure the officers have got that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Jackie, and thank you for putting me right at that point, because I made another mistake. And Councillor Bradwell, would you like to second the item 13? Thank you. Right. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Anyone against? Any abstentions? None seen. Appointments of outside bodies on item 14. Councillor Hill to move.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So I think as we stand, we now, just to say, it has been circulated. I don't know if there's been a correction. Have we corrected the latest one, or do you need to announce it? There is a latest edition then. Is that correct? Just to be clarifying that Councillor Marfleet will be replacing, well, it's proposed that Councillor Marfleet replaces Councillor Brooks on the Anglian Northern Regional Flood Defence Committee, and in terms of Eastern Shire, ESPO, Eastern Shire's Purchasing Organisation, it is there just to highlight the changes. Councillor Rawlings, Chairman, Councillor Higgs, Vice Chairman. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Hill. Councillor Bradwell to second.
Yes, I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Tricia. All those in favour, please show. Anyone against? Any abstentions? That is carried. Item 15, review of the Constitution. Do I have a proposer and a seconder?
Propose it, Chairman. Can I also take this opportunity to thank the monitoring officer and his team for what is a huge piece of work. This has really improved the sections of the Constitution that have been worked on and made them much more relevant to current practice. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you, Jackie. And the seconder, please. It's Councillor Dilks, I think.
May I formally second? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dilks. All those in favour, please show. Anyone against? Any abstentions? That is carried. That basically concludes our meeting. Can I just ask you to remove your post from the pigeonholes, and I welcome you all to the foyer now, so thank you for attending. Thank you. No matter how much I read, for some reason...
it's difficult when you're up there.
I know.
You did very well.
No,
No, you did. Because this meeting isn't like a